All right. Well, welcome, Ming-Ming. It's so great to have you on the Formidable podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been such a pleasure to know your new work and be part of it.
Oh, we're just so thrilled to be able to chat with you today. Ming-Ming, I'm hoping you can just start off by telling us a little bit about the Refugee Artisan Initiative and how it works, just a little bit about the story.
Yes, I'm the founder and exec director of what I call innovative nonprofit Refugee Artisan Initiative, in short for RAY, like a ray of sunshine, because it's a place that I envision to bring refugee and immigrant women together in a safe and a place that can investing in their future using their skills in sewing and handcrafting. At the same time, also be able to turning trash into treasures, so that providing a living wage while preserving our planet can go hand in hand. And I started this.
So, how does that work?
How does that work? Well, first of all, in 2000, about 10 years ago, I was a fashion student at University of Washington. I was the last class of the fashion certificate program. And that was a very transformative year for me, um, because I learned a couple really important statistics. I learned that fashion has one of the largest amount of waste. Almost 85% of textiles got dumped into the landfill, including the clothes you wear, XX textiles. And in that year, I became really good friend with my instructor, Camille Steen, and she was teaching refugee women primarily in the Seattle area with the hope that they can, get jobs. And I found out that particular refugee women have the lowest employment rate, about only 40%. So in my mind, thinking, God, you have this group of women who have skills coming to America with the the skill set, because sewing is universal language. They're the same anywhere in the world, and you have all these material that will go to landfill. And how can we combine the two and create jobs? And that was a light bulb moment for me to start an organization. But going even farther, I grew up in Taiwan, and growing up, my grandmother was a home-based seamstress. She was able to raise my mom and my two uncles making clothes for women in the neighborhood. And she made a lot of my clothes growing up. And there was always the sound of sewing machines. She's walking away making dresses and coats. And so I saw how grandma could be self sufficient, raising uh, her family on her own as a single mother. So that something about tools and skill together can be. Okay, we'll repeat that. My dog is here. Maybe I let him out. That's pause. I realized that seeing grandmother can use her skills and be able to provide for her family, plus the tools she has at home, have a really profound impact on me. So, as a matter of fact, when I left Taiwan um, as a teenager, coming to America, my suitcase filled with clothes that she made for me. And if you do come to our maker space here in Lake City today, you will see a cake layer turquoise chiffon dress that was made by my grandmother. That was the last piece of a cloth that she made for me, and symbolized that, her skills and her legacy. And I want to use, you know like that as a platform to really tell the story of all the women that come after my grandmother. uh, Want to use their skill set, so that kind of motivate me. um, and when people ask, what really inspired me besides my grandmother, I would say, after being here for over 40 years, it's really combined of my compassion that I cultivated over a couple of decades as a pharmacist, and my love of fashion and my way to get back to my community as an immigrant.
I love that. What a beautiful story. Ming, I think the audio is getting a little muddled, so I'm going to turn my video off, and why don't you do the same? And that might help with the
Okay.
connection. Yeah, I think that's going to be better.
Okay.
So you talked a little bit about um, being an immigrant and about your grandmother kind of providing the inspiration for you to start this. When did you immigrate to the U.S.?
I came here as a teenager in the 1980s, in 1985, and I didn't come straight to America. I actually first came from went to Saudi Arabia to live there for 2 years with my family. When then they have no schools for foreigners, and I was enrolling in international school, learning English, and my parents thought it would be good for us to come to America. So, so that really was a very transformative 2 years for me because the international school exposed me to students from all over the world and especially exposed to Muslim culture that I wasn't even familiar with. Taiwan is mostly a Buddhist country, so it kind of opened my mind about in classroom with people from different backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, and different languages, and I really love that. And something always in my back of my mind that I would love to be able to work in a multicultural, diverse environment. And I think that has something to do with me wanting to start Ray in my 40s and trying to figure out, what else can I do that can fulfill me as an individual with a stable family and career. What else can I do? Am I going to die as a pharmacist? Maybe there are other things I can do, and I feel that's part of the reason why I start Ray is that crave of interacting, make a difference in the life of other women from around the world.
Wow, what an amazing experience to start in Saudi Arabia and then come to the United States. I can absolutely see how that would connect so well to what you're doing now. Can you talk a little bit about some of the work that Ray does? Like where are you getting your materials? What are some of the materials that you're working with and then what are you guys creating with those materials?
Oh, great question. Well, we practice what's called circular economy, meaning that we look at materials that are around us and creating products based on what's already available. Instead of the linear production that we know in majority of products we buy, um, you pick out your colors, your fabrics and patterns. We kind of look differently. We're looking at, for example, Seattle is a big Amazon town where, 8 years ago when I first started, I realized that there's also a lot of returns. And one of the returns item was Amazon return bed sheets that were unused. They're cotton, and it was bad for me that you're not allowed to resell these products because of the sanitary concerns. So we were using these items to creating, other items in border, turning into in border pillows and other items. But then COVID hit, and that's when we were using these bed sheets into masks in March of 2020. And when people are still debating about masks or no masks, I feel like my background as a pharmacist kind of propelled me to take action. And in 2020, with a skeleton group of women, we made over 80,000 masks and keep, healthcare workers, postal workers, a lot of people safe. And that's one area of using material during COVID. We've been using bed sheet to turn it into medical scrubs when there was a shortage of medical scrubs. So just being innovative and being nimble and being able to think quickly. That was one example. And another example was turning Starbucks coffee bags. As you know, that Seattle is a coffee town of Starbucks. They roast a lot of coffee beans from around the world, and once these coffee beans were empty out to be processed, those burlap bags are not recyclable, and we were able to turn it into a line of beautiful basket pouches, um, that what I call market totes, even Christmas stockings, and we have sold them back to Starbucks for for the employees to enjoy, along with as a part of our kind of a long term product line of sustainability, showcasing Seattle as a city that love coffee and embrace sustainability. And
I love that. What an amazing story. Oh, I just love these connections to Amazon and to Starbucks. You're building these relationships with people in your own backyard and companies in your own backyard. You said that you were selling them back to Starbucks for their employees. Are there other ways that you're monetizing this or other ways that you are are you selling these
yeah,
products?
so this is Seattle. They buy our coffee burlap pouches all the time as a way to give to visitors that come to Seattle to showcase Seattle. So they become swag for various venues, and we are just proud of the fact that we can really utilize local talents to turn these bags, and each bag of coffee sack tells which country it's from. So it also tells the stories of coffee beans from around the world, from Indonesia, from Ethiopia, from Colombia. So it's really also tells that story of how they all end up in Seattle when you enjoy your cup of coffee, and that's the origin. So and it's plentiful. We know we're never going to run out of burlaps um, to use. So that's one area of working with big companies. Another example of working with big company here in Seattle is with Tommy Bahama. Uh, they don't make anything in America. Everything has traditionally been made overseas until that they decided that their leftover fabric from the past season, because they have very distinct prints. They really don't want it to circulate back out other places. They will be shipped along with their clothing back to Seattle, and we have been able to design a line of home goods such as table runners, napkins, beach totes, or other items, that wine bags that they sell back to their customers as a limited edition of Ray with Tommy Bahama collaboration. So that's just another example of when company can think outside the box and keep these materials out of landfill and creating another opportunity locally.
That's so impressive, Ming Ming. So how are you building these relationships with these companies? Are you doing outreach? Do you have connections to them? How's this happening?
A lot of time just a cold call. Well, there are some connections, I think it's not right away. I was very curious about where materials coming from. And I was wondering, are there material that can be repeated and keep coming back for us to use? And about 8 years ago, I spoke to a company here called Evernew. They do regenerative um, textile. They take discarded cotton textile, turn it into new threads for a company like Levi, others to reuse, to turn it into new product. So I just started talking to them about where I can find materials, and that's when they point out to me about Amazon return bed sheets, and then I kind of just finding out who to talk to, and then Starbucks actually started by myself as a guest on their refugee annual refugee day on June 20th. Just talk about our work with refugees in the community, and then that sparked an idea. Maybe I should find out about what are the materials coming from, and then honing on the burlap sack. So a lot of time it's kind of being curious about what's around you, and and kind of tap into people that can you ask, maybe not the first person, but maybe after fifth, sixth person you talk to. But Tommy Bahama is a bit unique because they have someone there that's wanted to do this for over 10 years, and they actually waited for the right moment to know that there's an organization here in town can do this work. So it's a combination of people coming to us, but I would say majority of time it's us looking at the materials and designing these products and make sure there's a marketplace so that we can hire more women to do the work.
Well, that's such a great segue, Ming Ming. Can you talk a little bit about the women who do the work, who come to work for Ray? Where are they coming from, and how does this experience change their lives?
We have women currently, about 42 women in the program, and they are coming from 7 different countries. Uh, Majority of women come from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Ethiopia, Myanmar, Morocco, Vietnam, and Iraq. And when I first started, I did have a partnership with local resettlement agencies such as Refugee Women's Alliance, working with their case managers, uh, primarily from Afghanistan and Myanmar. So we work with these women uh, initially, but very quickly, the word of mouth saying that, if you know how to sew, this is the organization that you can count on to be able to work from home. Because what I recognize is that there's a gap in our community to allow these women that are new to the country without English skills and without able to drive or even and have a skill that's mostly just handcrafting, sewing, not without much of what we consider as employable skills such as computer or office skills. How can we quickly bring into work? And that's why the home base work, but providing with tools and skills become very popular. So they refer their neighbors. And what I describe the journey of our women would be that we have women as fresh as just getting off the plane from Afghanistan, literally escaping Taliban a couple months, ago, and be introduced to the organization and start training, and for them to earn their first paychecks in America and learning to open their bank account and what that means in our country. We have a different currency and different way of banking, and then some of the women later um, buy their first cards. And in the last 8 years, I have three women were able to purchase their first home. Uh, so see them from being extremely shy and to be able to build that confidence of using that skills to support their families, um, be integrated in that way, I think it's extremely rewarding. I can't. There's almost every woman walks through this door um, with hope, and then I really good to see them that not only some of them can thrive and also reach some of their dreams, especially home ownership. We know how hard it is around this area. So in the last 8 years, we have upcycle over close to 160,000 items and keep uh, over 100,000 pounds of textile out of landfill. And this year we added, last couple of years, added plastic, so another 12,000 pounds of those out of landfill and putting over $1.4 million into these women's pockets. That to me is a measurable success. But more importantly, I think it's the impact not only the women, but knowing that they can provide school supplies, food on the table to their families, and almost every woman in my program I know, if they have families still back home, they're still trying to save some money home. So um, I would say, that's a rippling effect of when a woman can earn an income that they help the whole village.
That is so powerful, Ming Ming. It really is. Just hearing those stories about these women being able to buy homes. I mean, that's just amazing. You're making such an enormous impact on their lives. What do you wish people knew about refugees who are coming to the United States? You know, obviously, right now there's a lot of conversations happening about immigration in this country. As you see what's going on, what do you wish people knew?
First of all, people need to understand that nobody really wants to leave their homeland. Oftentimes, they are forced to leave, either political, religious persecution, or economic reason. So, they come here, and particularly our Afghan community, we have the responsibility. We were in Afghanistan for many years, and we rely on the local people for translation for other needs. And when we were no longer there, and there was a lot of people invested a lot of their time and talent to help the U.S. government, it is our responsibility to make sure that folks like that can be safely, accepted by the U.S. and be able to restart over. And there's this idea that somehow people want to hand out, but no, they want to contribute just as much as like every one of us. They need initial support. As you can imagine, if you don't speak the language, it's a complete different landscape what you used to, and you have no family here. Those initial investments is really important, and I would like our government continue to think about those who are already here. How can we have them to have a pathway to be part of a productive and welcoming member of a society, because that's exactly what they all want to do in my program. Nobody really want to be isolated at home feeling depressed and useless. They want to be part of this ecosystem of being valued and being compensated for their skills and being able to pursue whatever they want to pursue. I really think my program, sewing, is just the beginning of a bigger future, because that's why they know you might be a midwife, a journalist from your home country, but hopefully maybe you can go back to doing something similar or finding another path. But at least you know about sewing. Let's get you started. That's not focus on your deficit. That's really uh, embrace on the immigrant and refugees that come here. Let's focus on their strength and then build it up by you know training and ESL and other wraparound service.
That's so interesting that you mentioned the wraparound services. So, are there other organizations that you work with to sort of help these women get settled in the United States when they get here? Or are there some things that they need in particular that are unique to the refugees that you're working with?
Yes, we definitely work partners. We're in Lake City. We work with Akin. It's focused on families wraparound service needs. Um, ESL, we also some of the women we refer them to literacy source. But what different what we provide to the wraparound service is that um, the sewing is also have different sets of language, the pattern, the measurements, and so we're also focused on this unique set of professional language that's you can't really get outside the organization. So we're focusing on that. Um, and because of the challenging of mostly Muslim population of don't want to be in the mixed gender situation, a lot of time we will bring folks in terms of like financial literacy, into our organization by using female instructors as much as we can. And some of the women will become more comfortable after they've been here and will go into mixed gender work environment. But we need to recognize that it does take some time for people to get to that integration. And then another set of challenging is one of our missions says micro business development because sewing from home is only the beginning. We also have women that want to start their own business, their own tailoring shop, their catering business, or a home-based daycare. And because language and education level, um, it may take a lot longer. They cannot go to your regular some of these micro business classes, it, and they need to be more holding hands. So we recognize that, and we got a grant right now to hire our first ever micro business development manager to really focus on each woman's needs, and that cannot be done in the mainstream micro business courses.
What a great idea. I mean, especially for somebody like you who has built your own business. What kind of advice do you offer them, Ming Ming? And maybe what advice would you offer to other folks who are looking to do something similar to what you did, which is to sort of find this circular economy that you've tapped into?
Yes. So sounds like there's two prompts of the questions. In terms of starting your business, like our woman, I would suggest to kind of see they allow you to observe their work, a little mini internship, or just get the real feel about it before you invest in too much time. Because we're realizing that there's a gap between what you envision and the reality. And that's what I'm hoping to do with our women that are pursuing various of micro businesses is to have this mini internship, so they without having to investing any money, just make sure that's the environment that they really want to go into. And if they're still say, I want to do this, then we can really help them. And as far as circular economy, it's still a very new um, concept. So there's a lot of room for innovation. I'm in the field. Okay, hold on one second. My dog want to come in.
Go for it.
Sorry about that. As far as circular economy, it is still a very new field. And, you know, one thing I need to alert people is that are you doing something different? Because if you're already doing something the same as someone else doing it, what is the value you're adding? Uh, there are quite a few women that are really into upcycling clothing businesses, and it's also scalability, because sometimes when you do upcycle stuff, it's one of the kind. And for me, because I right now I work with massive amount of material that I can replicate, instead of making just one unique product, and it's really hard to scale. Um, and then really have to think about how you convey that message. Um, People are also very price conscious. There's also so much people can bear to pay the extra amount. Sorry, that's my dog. Maybe stop that. 1 second. In the butt. I can't decide want to stay in or out. Um,
That sounds like a dog to me.
so you got to really understand what the demand would be. But sometimes you create a demand because people may not realizing that you can, make a sleeping bag out of plastic and leftover material. So I would say, talk to people that are this field, and especially what I do. I am a nonprofit, so my goal really isn't about the bottom. It's more about triple bottom line. It's not just double. It's not just cost of material and then cost of labor, and then overall what is it good for the environment and for the community I serve. So I'm looking at different, um, my measurement, what I'm trying to get out of what I do is different than traditional for profit as a nonprofit. So I think it's important to figure out how you want to structure it. What is your goal? Uh, and my goal is about creating green jobs, and so it's a little different, and also in the way that providing training and assimilation to America society. So my goals are different than those who are focused mostly on products only. And
That
I'm
makes
not just a
sense.
pure nonprofit just providing service. I also have products. So I call the new model of the hybrids called the social enterprise model, where we do depend some grants, but we are also expected to have earned income through product sales.
Got it. That makes sense. So, Ming Ming, you've got all of these amazing women working at your facility. Are you nervous right now about with what's going on with the immigration raids and things like that? Are the women that you're working with, are they nervous or concerned?
We're absolutely very concerned. As an organization, primarily doing closed door operations. We do have public facing. Uh, Last Saturday, it's our public mending day, and we are very concerned there could be a raid, ice raid, and we have to put our women in the private area, not in the public area, and asking some strong men guarding the door, and the woman can kind of escape on the back door if they have to, and putting over once one side viewing window, so that people cannot see through our back door to see who's inside, but we can see out. So these are who want to open the door, and all the uncertainty of continuous changes on the executive orders of protected status, not you know not anymore for some of our population. We don't know exactly what that means because they are still allowed to work here. So it's very confusing, and because it's not standardized, so we don't know. We are trying our best to continue to operate, but it is nerve wracking.
I can only imagine just how nerve wracking that is, and for the women that you're working with as well and their families. It's amazing what you've been able to do, to support them, and so thank you for that. You know, um, Ming Ming, what's keeping you centered right now? What's giving you joy when things like this kind of come into your life and get really difficult?
You know, I would say that make sure that I'm healthy because I know it's a long road, right? You do this work and you want to make sure you have this stamina. And professionally, I think I'm lucky that I have staff who are really dedicated and also very think innovatively to want to continue to do the work. On the personal level, I'm a big hiker. I have this group of women I go hiking and just be outside. I think that one need to take care of one's spiritual or physical health before one can really um, on you know have the energy to take on multiple different things going on in the organization. And on top of that, we are also ready to move in about 2 weeks to a temporary space because we are going to renovate this space. And the front of the organization, the building will become the first refugee arts and cultural center to really highlight their stories about their talent as a gallery. And the back will be workforce development to continue training the women. So it's a lot of work, and staying healthy and stay positive. I think just keep all the noises out of your view as much as possible. I'm more of a person just like to read about the news than watching the news. Then I can be more selective.
That's such good advice, Ming Ming. I wanted to
Mhm.
ask you about that incredible dress that I saw you wear a couple of weeks ago at the conference we were both at. You told us at the time that it was made by one of the artisans. Are you seeing some of these women develop into fashion designers? Is there sort of a path for them in that way?
Absolutely. We have dressmakers, coat makers, different type of makers. So I was so proud to wear Julie's dresses at the IWF events. Julie is a single mother from Myanmar, and she escaped religious persecution. She's a Christian and was not allowed in Myanmar. So she came here and then unfortunately became a single mother and with three children. But she has such a unique design. She still import textile from Myanmar, and then she would try to make a more modern version of what Western women would wear. And at first, her stuff were extremely um, intricate and fancy. Was beautiful, like dangling buttons, shining buttons, and but I realized that she can make it in a way that's unique but more fitting the Western taste. Because here in Seattle, at least in America, women like pockets. So I told her it's important to have pockets. For the
Pockets are so important.
pockets are important. Decoration secondary, and she just has such an eye for combining textures and design. And part of our vision of this Refugee Arts and Culture Center is for people like Julie. A part of that for them to meet their customers. For her to have a portfolio of her dresses that people can pick. And a lot of time, women in America don't have the luxury to experiencing a custom-made clothing. I think Ray would give them this platform to meet the artisans, get measurements, and pick out the fabrics and design that you want, and have Julie to make that beautiful, dress for your next big event or your family wedding thing you need to go. I just think that using us as a model to kind of helping these women that have the skill and talent, but not being discovered and not showing how to go about that, this will become a really safe place to invest in their micro business, like Julie's couture dresses.
Well, it was really stunning, Ming Ming, and you looked beautiful at the gala. So I can't say enough about it. We'll post a picture of you
Yeah, and
that I have with the
yeah,
podcast.
we would love to once. I believe in next year, all the Julie's beautiful designs will be available, and we'll love to invite people to support her business, to create something unique. I think it's about time that we focus on quality than quantity in your closet. And what a way to do it by working with Julie to really make a statement piece that you can keep for a long time.
Amen to that. I love it. I love it. Well, those were all my questions, Ming Ming, but I am going to ask you maybe since we had a little bit of kind of connection issue at the
Yeah.
top to maybe just again in case it was too muddled to just talk a little bit about the Refugee Artisan Initiative, how it works, and how you started
Yeah.
it.
So, Refugee Arts Initiative, also known as RAY, like a ray of sunshine. I started in 2017, so 8 years ago, with a mission really to partner with refugee and immigrant women to ensure they have prosperous transition in America through skill training and micro business development. And the reason I started this organization has multiple layers. I think starting from my childhood, the evidence that I grew up in a household where my grandmother was a professional home-based seamstress. She made a lot of my clothes growing up, and also raising my mother and my two uncles as a seamstress, making clothes for women in her village. And seeing her using her tools and skills had profound effect on me. And the last piece of clothing she made for me before I left Taiwan was a beautiful turquoise chiffon, thin layer of cake layer dress. Today it's hung at Ray to remind me grandma's legacy of not only making beautiful clothes, but somehow using her hands and skills that we can transform people's lives. And fast forward after being in America for a couple of decades, and have careers and families, and um, kind of looking at what can I do to give back to my community. So I feel that starting Ray is combining my compassion as a pharmacist over 2 decades, and my love for fashion, and my desire to give back to my community as an immigrant from Taiwan. Um, and more importantly, through this journey, I'm realizing that I'm trying to target two issues with one solution. Uh, One is the very low employment rate among refugee women, only about 40%. And a lot of them coming here don't have what we consider as employable skills. But I recognize sewing is a universal language no matter where they come from. And at the same time, from my fashion education at University of Washington, I learned that 85% of textile get thrown into the landfill. So why not put these women to work by repurposing unwanted textile, but investing in terms of tools and machine they need so they can work from home and providing for their family while earning a living wage as a new starting point in America. So that's kind of the journey of how I started the organization.
It's really incredible that circular economy that you've built, Ming Ming. It's so visionary, and I hope you appreciate all that you've done for our community here in the Seattle area and for all of these incredible women. it's been such an honor to talk to you today and to hear your story and to hear a little bit more about how this came to be. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and congratulations on all of your incredible success. And thank
Oh,
you
thank you
again.
for having me. I just want to add one more thing. On top of on top of textile, right now the biggest challenging is non-recyclable plastics. And we are right now, if you ever come to our space right now, there's these giant pieces of billboard vinyls that we are turning it into recycling bags to encourage multifamily to recycle. That's just another angle of triple win: win for the environment, win for the women, and win for the job. So thank you, Emily, for taking the time to learn more about the work we do.
Thank you, Ming Ming. It's really been my pleasure. Really appreciate your time today.
Great. Thank you. Bye bye.